What can you tell us, Rex? What is the latest?
I think there's a couple things to point out here, Damon. As you pointed out, these were both reported by the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg, two financial institutions. The tour has been really tight on this one. It's been a tight circle. Jay Monahan has made it perfectly clear he's not going to negotiate in public. So it seems pretty obvious that this came from the public investment fund side. And it is an encouraging step when you consider how long this has been. I will point out that both stories, the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg, they kind of have different figures, and it's important to keep an eye on this one. The Wall Street Journal story seemed to suggest that it would be the same level of investment that SSG made earlier this year in the PGA Tour, and that's about $1.5 billion. If you look at the assessment of the PGA Tour, that's about 10.8% of what PGA Tour Enterprises was valued at. And the Wall Street Journal says it's going to be very similar for whatever PIF comes in at. If you look at the Bloomberg story, they actually said it was going to be 6%. Now, this is important because the 6% number would probably be a little bit more palatable for everyone involved. And by that, I mean we're going to talk a little bit about the Department of Justice investigation into possible antitrust violations. If it's a smaller number, fewer percent, a minority stake, that's going to be easier to get through the DOJ. And there's also the issue of who has the loudest voice in the room in that boardroom. According to the framework agreement, that the governor of the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia would be the chairperson of that board, but with a minority investment, it remains to be seen exactly what that would look like.
So now that we have possible numbers circulating around investments, Rex, what is left to be done before signatures can be signed on the dotted line? How far do you think we are away from that?
I don't think we're far from the financial segment of this. And I've been told all along, and this goes back pretty much a year and a half now to when the framework agreement was announced in June of last summer. The idea is coming up with a financial agreement between these two parties was going to be difficult. I don't want to make it sound like it's easy. This is a billion-dollar deal involving a lot of international laws and regulations. However, that was probably going to be the easier part of the puzzle. To answer your question, it's going to be the competitive component of this. What does this look like? How do we move forward? The idea that these two tours could come together, maybe they work separately, maybe you have events that are co-sanctioned by the PGA Tour. How do the players who left to join LIV come back? That was also written into the framework agreement. I just sat down for an interview with Hudson Swafford, who of course left the PGA Tour to join LIV Golf. He wants to come back to the PGA Tour now. He has been relegated off LIV Golf, and he has not been given a clear pathway back by the PGA Tour. I think that's a direct assessment of how difficult and complicated this is going to be.
Well, golf fans continue to be patient. They no doubt want to see the best players in the world week to week. Do you have any sort of indication of when unification could possibly happen? Is 2026 the earliest we can expect to see Scheffler and Rahm side by side, toe to toe, outside of the major championships?
Yeah, I think 2026 is the number you're going to be looking at, because both tours right now, both LIV Golf and the PGA Tour, are locked into schedules. I spoke with one board member just not that long ago, and the idea was if you and I, and we all sat down and we had a blank piece of paper and we wanted to come up with just the perfect international schedule, where all of these players are reunited and you just want to do exactly what's best for the professional game. Imagine how cool that scenario would be and sort of how special you could create that circuit. However, this board member told me, yeah, that would be great, but they don't have a blank piece of paper right now. So I think whatever we would see, the earliest would be 2026, simply because there's so many agreements that are already built in, just on the PGA Tour and LIV Golf, with golf courses, with sponsors, with media partners, all of the things that factor into this. So we'll see them at the majors together, but I don't think we'll see anything beyond that, at least in 2025.
Yeah, that seems like a completely separate conversation altogether, Rex. Thank you so much. Maybe this is just another piece in the puzzle of one of the most complex puzzles in professional sport I think we've ever seen. So thank you for always bringing us all the most up-to-date news on this topic.